What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. Captain Deadwake here, your blue-collar captain, here to talk about something that was requested by one of the guys in my org, and that's how you would compare or explain how different weapons affect components in the game with engineering. We're here in the 4.6 PTU, and I have got an experiment that I wanted to more diligently put together here for you. You'll see we have an array of different ships. So before we actually get into this, I'm going to explain real quick what we're gonna do. So down here on the end, kind of tucked together, we have an Aurora and a Gladius, we have an Asgard and a Corsair, and then we have a Caterpillar and a Hull C. You might notice that only one of these ships of this lineup are not gold passed or, physicalized all components and engineering schematics, or engineering gameplay rather. So my aim here, pun intended, is to take different categories of weapons to see how they interact with these ships. And I didn't want to do this against NPC ships because, to be frank, it's a little hard to compare since those will actually hard death and explode when you encounter them, versus player ships will typically have more of a TTD versus TTK, or time to disable versus time to kill or time to explode. So we're going to be running 4 different weapon setups. Currently on our Anvil Hornet, we are running a full CF laser repeater build. We will also be running a laser cannon build, and then we'll be trying out a ballistics Gatling / repeater build and a ballistics cannon build. The main goal with that is to demonstrate penetration distances or depths for each of these weapons. Laser repeaters being barely any at all at 0.8 meters. So they don't really get through that hole very well to actually get to those components. But if you're going up against light fighters, that might not be as much of a problem because the components are basically right there at the surface. It's really easy to get to those. That is where I think hands down the ballistics side of this is still far superior in this current build because of shield pass-through. Energy weapons have to go through the shields before they start dealing damage to the ships. Where energy weapons have been reportedly better is causing spread damage and heat to cause fires. But ballistics do seem to be the best way to get in and shut down components to disable the ship, disable the threat, whatever it may be. Now, our consistents here are that each of these ships that we're looking at, they all have industrial grade A power plants and shields. So we've got Palisades and Bretons on the Gladius and the Aurora. We've got ramparts on the Asgard with Genoa power plants. The Corsair, the Cat, and the Hull C are all rocking parapet shields, 1, 3, and 4 respectively, with Genoa and then Durango power plants as far as the ship's power plants go. All of these ships have their shields to full power, except for the kind of overclock or extra power, the extra 2 pips you can put on. I didn't do that for any of the ships. They're all at full power base shields, so the full 2 setup, that should make sense. You guys should know what I'm talking about. As an example here on the Anvil Hornet, I can show you. So the main shields are online, not the extra across the board. So that's another constant. On these smaller ships, you don't really, when you're fighting them, it's going to be really hard to use precision mode to get in and actually target their components. But if you know where they are, where on the Gladius and the Aurora, they're on the dorsal side up top. So you'd be over here. Like if you're fighting them dorsally, that's not good for them because the power plants are right here in the middle of the ship. So I mean, if you're aiming with ballistics or cannon builds, you're probably going to hit those components regardless. But let's see, we're going to do a TTK here, or time to disable, with just the CF build with some slight orbital movement. So shields are already gone. Check fire. And I meant to actually time this, but I guess we'll kind of have an idea just based on looking at it. So the shields are down and all, and she's hurting, but not powering down. So, okay, some things seem to be powering down because we're looking at our signatures above us here, and we've taken some damage. So I'm going to actually head over here and pop out. We're going to hop on board and see what we're looking at as far as how the ship might have suffered. Oh, damn. Okay, so I think that might have been a reactor blow, right? Okay, so I was actually wrong in thinking that these components got blown off because that wing is gone, because they're actually up here, more midline, port and starboard. So the shield and cooler are still there. Up here is where you have your more important power plant. So let's see what the fate of that thing is. Right-click this so I can see part integrities. Yeah, it is offline. So we were able to get through very quickly the CF repeaters. I'd say that was less than a minute of firing on this thing. I am going to have an actual timer running on the other ships. I missed it on this one, so I apologize, got a little too excited. This thing's disabled though. This thing is down with just the CF build very quickly. See, CF repeaters are not completely out of the equation because they are super accurate, super high velocity, which means that the pip stays closer to the ship when you're moving around it. When you're looking at things weapon-wise, if you look at Urkel, it'll show you your ammo speed. Ammo speed gives you the relative pip distance to the ship when it's moving, because the bullets are moving faster. It's like muzzle velocity. So you can be more accurate with that higher velocity of ammunition, even though the DPS might be a little bit lower. You're getting more shots on target, so at the end of the day, you're still doing more damage. Now, a lot of people are of the mind that laser repeaters and laser weapons in general are basically useless. Nah, man, you saw how fast those industrial grade shields got torn out and the power plant hit on this thing. I think that knowing your target, knowing what you're going for, is the bigger part of the equation here. On the Gladius, I'm going to actually switch over to the Ballistics build to show you what it's like to hit that. So these ballistic weapons, they do about 2 meters of penetration, 2 meters in. So that's still really great when it comes to light and medium fighters. That is going to be devastating. When it gets to the larger ships, depending on where those components are placed, it's going to be hard to get in and do that component damage. But again, on the light fighter side, medium fighter, maybe even heavy fighter, there's not going to be any problem running these shredders as well as these Revenants. So let's take a look at how this goes.
Check fire.
Already disabled. That was probably less than 30 seconds of fire. And again, we were at the top of the ship hitting that power plant. That's how you could tell. Now we can also just go ahead and scan the ship, which is another awesome function to make this a little bit easier to see what the state of that ship is, to see what components are destroyed, what aren't. So we got our scan done. So yeah, power plant, Breton, destroyed that fast. I'm pretty sure the quantum drive is probably destroyed as well. No, it's just offline. Everything else is offline because the power plant's down. I don't really think there's a whole lot of reason to fight over what weapons are better at this category, because as you saw with that CF build, the shields are gone and the ship is being torn apart before anything can even be processed mentally. So it's, I think, a little bit harder to say that definitively the ballistics are just going to beat the CF repeaters every time. If you're going light fighter to light fighter or even medium fighter, I'd imagine the energy weapons are still going to do a world of hurt, because all these components are really shallow to the hull. You don't have to worry as much about penetration, and the energy weapons are tearing through their shields so fast. So for these other 3 ships, or sorry, for these other 4 ships, I think I'm going to run through the laser side of the test first, and then we'll come through with ballistics to prevent the need to swap back and forth too much. So there's also going to be, you know, chapters or timestamps in the video so you can get to each part that you want to see. But let's go ahead and throw those CF repeaters back on the ship. All right, let's hit it.
Check fire.
Now, this is another good point to show off the difference between Quadrant and bubble shields. The Asgard, unfortunately, has a bubble shield, so when you hit one of the ramparts, you hit all of them. So now they are completely gone. Let's see if we can get any reasonable damage in where these components are. So we're having to do a lot of recharging too with these energy weapons, where you might be taking fire. That's something to think about. Now, after we get to a full minute or 2 of firing, we will go inside and do a little damage assessment on this thing to see what's going on. Now, I'm going to be kind of flying a bit more like it's combat. Like actual combat. Trying to keep in mind where I know those power plants to be. Because if you're going for ship shutdown, you want to try to stay ventral. And now you got to remember, your opponent's going to be moving along with you. And you don't always have a clear visual on where these components are sitting. We've already crossed a full minute of firing on this Asgard with these CF repeaters. And that is 2 minutes. Alright. So we are going to halt and take a peek inside and see what has been done. Now again, this is the CF repeater build. Panthers and Rhinos. Alright, let's head to the engineering terminal and see what's going on. Alright, we do have some issues. Power plant failure. Are both of the power plants offline? Hold on. We got to do some looking here. Heart integrity 0. So this seems a little fishy. It appears that with just the CF repeaters, we have punched in and fully disabled this sucker, man. Power plants are both down. Is it fully disabled? I thought we still had shields up. Well, no, we didn't, because we had eaten all the shields. We didn't cause any fires. Wow, yeah, we destroyed the power plants. We were able to penetrate deep enough into the Asgard with the CF repeaters to actually fully disable it. That is surprising. I didn't even have to go ballistic for that one. Not great for Asgard lovers, honestly. And it explains why I was getting my ass kicked so quickly in the Asgard when swarmed by NPC light fighters. You'll notice the difference in bubble shield versus quadrant shield real quick. In fact, I will demonstrate this by showing you guys. You can see how that shield is the only shield face to go down, and what it means to trade shield faces if you are in that Corsair is to rotate so that different shield faces are getting hit while other ones recharge. So this is a really good way of demonstrating how that would work as these shields are coming down and other ones get the chance to come back online. And sometimes though, forward and back shields will be getting hit at the same time. This is why I really think the Asgard needs a damn quadrant shield, which is a size 3. It having the size 2 bubble shields does it no justice. All right, timer activated, let's go. Let's see how long it takes to chew through this thing, even with the shields that are there protecting it. Now we gotta imagine this thing's gonna be moving, so I'm not gonna sit here and make it easy for me. I am gonna kind of move around the ship, kind of hit where I know the components to be. Precision mode is really what you want to get used to using too when it comes to hitting these things, because your pips are not going to always give you that most opportune spot to hit those power plants. Alright, all shields are down. Power plant seems to be failing. Less than 2 minutes. 1 minute 50 seconds. No way. This is happening way too fast. I really wasn't expecting these CF repeaters to hit this hard in under 2 minutes of engagement, man. That's interesting. That makes it a little bit less of a standalone from the Asgard, since even with the quadrant parapet shield, the CF repeaters were able to chew through and get to those power plants. Now this one again is really shallow in the wall here. Yeah, that is confirmed destroyed. Which that one I expected. This one I didn't expect. Holy shit, that one's destroyed too. It's kind of defeating the purpose of me talking about punching through to the components if the CF repeaters are doing it that fast. Alright, combat test beginning now.
Check fire.
Now on the cat, it's extremely dangerous to be like next to it sideways because of all the turrets that it can fire out. So this is kind of where you want to be firing. Right by the engines, and you want to stay either above or below it as much as you can. And we are at the 2 minute mark. Time to stop and evaluate. Here she is. Okay, let's see. Turn this to where I can view it, and 100%. No damage to this power plant has occurred. So let's give it a 2 minute trial test with the laser cannon build. We're finally gonna have a reason to jump into the laser cannons and see what happens. All right, guys, here we go. We have got 4 size 3 Quarreler cannons as well as 2 M6A cannons for a really devastating laser punch and some pretty cool sounds on those Quarrelers. Go ahead and hit that timer and see what we got.
Check fire.
Now with cannons, it can be a little bit more deliberate, almost like a sniper setup with how you shoot these. Granted, again, you've got that recharge. We're at about a minute. I'm gonna let these recharge a little bit. Continue firing, because you don't want shields to come back. There goes an engine. Collateral damage. I'm gonna let it recharge a bit more. You can imagine in this time you're evading, you're trying to get your shields back, stay out of the line of sight, and continue firing. So shields are also coming back as you're recharging.
Check fire.
Another downside to lasers versus ballistics.
Check
This
fire.
might be the first area where it's actually mattering.
Check fire.
Alright, we crossed 2 minutes. Let's get in there and see if we've actually done anything to that power plant. This might be the first time we gotta bust out the ballistics. Power plant's destroyed. So there's enough penetration for the lasers to actually get in and hit that power plant. And it does appear in every case that you have to get through. Yeah, it actually is down. You have to get through all the armor to actually get to the components from what I'm seeing. And then we can actually repair this one in the cat to bring it back online. Once you get over 10%, she should be able to power up. Cooler failures. Turn these on. Okay, yeah. She's coming back online.
Engines online.
She's alive. Let's go.
Check fire.
Oh, now we've got good proper stagger fire, which I prefer anyway. I like that.
Check fire.
The whole sea is not as maneuverable as other ships, so it's easier to imagine it just kind of sitting in place there. So naturally, as a Hulk Sea captain, you're going to be wanting to roll and maneuver as much as possible to not let yourself get hit so easily in the ass section here. That's what you want to defend
Fire.
to avoid getting disabled. Having a buddy back there that might be able to keep those components online if they go out is also going to be really helpful because you can repair these.
Fire.
That'll make it a lot harder to keep you down. And there's 2 minutes. Shields are still up. Power plants are still online. Let's see if we've managed to actually damage them at all. We're just going to use our aft airlock to hop on. You can see all these pop marks where the cannons are hitting. That's really cool. Now, I wish I could say this is the emergency system sounding in the hull sea, but engineering always sounds like this. It always sounds like it's about to fall apart. Okay, here are our component bays. Cooler's fine. Cooler's fine. Power plant, undamaged. Quantum drive, undamaged. Shield seems fine. As you can see in 4.6, the engineering terminal's still busted, so we can't take a look at the current state of armor or anything, unfortunately. So we're going to head out, we're going to swap the ballistics build on and see what happens. Now, I do think there is something important to be said here about the usefulness of ballistics in the stealth category above all else, because in stealth, you really want to be able to maximize on reducing your signature. Energy weapons carry a higher signature than ballistics weapons do, as well as require more power to utilize properly, which also increases your signature to get detected. So if you're running in stealth ships, ballistics are naturally going to be the counterpart that you want to run to really take advantage of your capabilities. Now, as we get suited up here for our last test, rocking the 11 series broadswords with deadbolt 4s, which, man, I love me some deadbolts. It's important to also consider the fact that a lot of folks are going to end up mixing the types of weapons they use. You can probably have a great time, and I know several have, like mixing NDBs with Gatlings, by mixing like laser and ballistics cannons together for max pen and getting through those shields to increase the amount of damage the ballistics are causing as they go through the shields. I don't know if it's a percentage sort of trade-off, like a full healthy shield has a larger absorption of damage of the ballistics than a shield that's down to like 10% before it goes out. Maybe ballistics damage is higher. I don't know if that's how it operates. Please let me know in the comments below, guys. Or if it's just a fixed rate that the entire time the shields are up, there is a flat fall off for the ballistics projectile of like 40%. So I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that nuance yet before making this video. So I would love to be educated on that if any of you guys do know.
Shields.
If that is the case, it's even more enticing, the idea of mixing laser cannons with your ballistic cannons to be able to really maximize on how quickly you can get that damage done. Now, I will tell you that for me personally, running a Hornet build, I like going with a full deadbolt build. 2 deadbolt 4s and 4 deadbolt 3s for sniping larger ships on the NPC side to take care of them to get through intersect missions and all, but even more so on a Hornet Ghost Mark II. That is the main Hornet that I'm probably going to be using in 4.6 once I'm able to get my hands on it, and that will be running 2 deadbolt 4s, 2 deadbolt 3s, and 2 deadbolt 2s on the nose. Aside from that, using the deadbolt 4s on the Talon has been a lot of fun. I know a buddy of mine likes using the breaknecks on the Talon, which is a crazy high ammo count, like 10,500 on those ballistics Gatlings. There are so many options you can use, but I think this is more and more showing that it's less and less about sort of the meta and more about what you prefer and can mix together to use best for your playstyle. Because going after light fighters is going to be very different from fishing for larger ships, and whether or not you're trying to be able to handle a little bit of both, if you're taking on PC bounties and all, because you're going to have a mix of light, medium, and heavy, even up to like caterpillars and such on those missions. Also, you guys will notice here, we have 2 differing pip leads. This is what I was talking about when it comes to projectile velocity. So the the 11 series broadswords that I have equipped on the size 3s, they are at 1600 meters per second projectile velocity. They move a lot faster than my much slower deadbolts do, which these are the deadbolts. The outer one that's furthest away from the ship, those are the deadbolts. This demonstrates the accuracy thing I was talking about, because the pip is a lot farther away from the ship than the faster projectile, which is the smaller broadswords. The deadbolts are out there, which will get the hit. So if you're running different projectile velocities, this is what you're dealing with. And you can run, again, different control groups to fire different weapons at different speeds, but if you're firing all of your weapons at the same time, if you're not aiming at one of these or the other, you're drastically losing projectiles. They're just flying off and being wasted. So there you go. There's a live example of what it's like having differing projectile velocities on the same ship. The larger the ship you're shooting or the slower you're moving, the closer they are together. So, you know, that's something to consider. But now you know. All right, we are resetting the timer. Let's hit it. Time to attack those components.
Check fire.
Now you can see you can get a lot more consistent fire out of these cannons than you can with lasers because you have to do all that regen. Now eventually you're going to overheat, but I don't think it's quite as bad. Just kind of letting those cool off. Now precision mode's doing a pretty good job of keeping all these projectiles together too, which is nice. You'll notice that the shield isn't even down yet, and we are almost a minute in, but we are getting that pass-through damage that is somehow hitting the nose of the ship too, which is funny. Just looking at the graphic. The whole goal here is trying to hit those power plants. I think on the larger ship side, it's going to be pretty indisputable that the ballistics cannon route's probably the best way to go. I think it's more nuanced than people had realized when it gets to different size ships. So we are crossing into that 2-minute mark right now. And it does look like the whole sea is fully powering down across the board. So we got the kill. I'm just noticing all those signatures ticking down as we speak. She is disabled. Now, it definitely said that all of our power plants were dead here. So we're going to take a peek. We were even starting to hit that quantum drive. But yeah, this sucker's down. Alright, for the last test, I want to go back to the supposedly worst weapons, you know, the CF repeaters for this, and see if they actually can penetrate in deep enough to hit these components. The shields are down, but the components are all fully restored to their previous life. We're going to see what happens. We're going for the quantum drive and the power plant to see if they're taking any damage from out here. This is the closest area to the hull as well, so I really just want to see, with armor down, how deep these weapons can go, or if they don't go deep enough at all. Still no fires, which is kind of surprising. Okay, 100%, 100%, 100%. So yeah, the CF repeaters are not getting through far enough to actually hit these components. At least that's the thing. Okay, final test here. We have got the Gatling on starboard and the M6A on port, so the Revenant and M6A. We're going to see which of these can actually penetrate through and hit these components. I will let the Gatling hit the quantum drive, and the M6A will hit the power plant, which that should be an obvious hit if that ends up turning that off. So let's go, M6A. Let that recharge. We'll Gatling the quantum drive. And again, the Gatling is 2.2 meters. 99% and 100%. So, to my surprise, neither the Gatling or the cannon are getting through 2.2 and 3 meter penetration. So, on a ship like the Whole Sea, it seems like ballistics cannons are really the only method that are going to do this. Maybe the mass drivers. I think that those have some pretty good penetration as well. Let me know if you guys have had any other testing done or seen. Let me know what your thoughts are on this down below. I hope you've appreciated the sort of thoroughness in this. And if you saw this at the membership level and you saw a little bit of the back end and more extended version of what's going on, I hope you guys enjoyed it. The YouTube memberships are active now on the Captain Deadwake YouTube channel at 2 tiers, Stellar and Interstellar. The members only videos will be at the higher tier. Let me know what you guys think. Include bloopers, longer testing, no ads or anything like that. I mean, you guys, your support's enough, so I really appreciate that. I think that is about all I've got for this. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or things I might have missed or maybe didn't make sense to you. I can try to address those in the comments or in a future video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.